Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Blonde Informants podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Karen Potter. I've got Mariah Walker joining me. How are you, Mariah?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm super excited today because I have one of my dearest and oldest friends joining us. And I'm just excited about today's conversation. I know you are too, Mariah.
Yes, I am. I'm looking forward.
Yeah. Well, let's introduce today's guest, Jen. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, ladies.
Oh
Good to
my
see
gosh.
you.
And you're blonde too. So we got the whole
Yeah,
blonde. Yes, I'm
yes,
loving this. Oh my
yes.
gosh. Well, Jen, tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I am a gym owner. I own a micro gym. It is not a CrossFit affiliate, but on the functional fitness spectrum. So functional fitness and really honing in on, trying to be functionally independent as we age. Yeah, making sure that as we age, we can still maintain a lifestyle and be functionally independent to engage in activities.
And that is extremely important, especially I think about that often because I'm a lot older than you. So I'm always thinking about how I can stay moving. But you know, what's great, Jen, is that we've been friends for, several seasons of life. So,
Yeah,
we were kind of,
yeah.
I think we met when I think I was in my early 30s. You must have been in your 20s,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
25. Yeah. Yep. Not too
Yeah,
long
and
ago.
so
Yeah.
yeah, and so now as we continue to get older, we're just kind of we're looking at health in a holistic way, and I know that you work with your clients and teach them how to look at health and fitness and nutrition and all of that. Why did you get into this line of work? I mean, because it's a something you have to really be passionate about, right?
Yeah. So I was a gymnast growing up. So physical activity, physical fitness was always a big part of my life. And I remember saving my Christmas money and my birthday money. And my mom said she would split a gym membership with me at our local gym. Um, And so she did, and so we had to come up with half, and she'd come up with the other half, and I practiced too. So I've always been super passionate about that. And I had an opportunity in 2012 to go back to school. And so I did. I went back to school and got my degree in exercise science, and it's something that I always wanted to do after working a desk job for a large portion of my life. And yeah, it was the best decision I could have done. I fully enjoyed going back to school as an adult and really learning and honing in on. Yeah, I mean, it's something you do have to be passionate about. And I was the elder of the group for sure. But I took my notes with pen and paper, and all the kids had their laptops out. And I really enjoyed it. I had a great program. I did a transfer program from Washtenaw Community College to Eastern Michigan University, and I still talk to some of my professors. I've gotten interns through the program that I did, and it was a really great program, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, now I own a gym and doing personal training and coaching, and yeah, I couldn't imagine a better path for me at this point in my life.
There's not a lot. I feel like people always join, like they get started with college right after high school. I almost feel like it's better to wait just
Yes,
until, you know,
yes,
until you actually know at least somewhat what you want to do. Yeah.
yeah. That's a really good point, Mariah. I actually just had this conversation with a friend, and we were talking about how it's easy for parents, and this is kind of this is how we grew up: is you go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, and you go down this path, and you're so young, you might not know what you want to do or what you want to be when you grow up, and sometimes it does take a few years, and
Yeah.
sometimes you should take a few years off and go live life in the real world and really figure out what your passion is. So yeah, I think you bring up a good point with that. That we've been conditioned that you're supposed to go to college right after high school, and that's not always the best path for everybody. Some
Yeah.
people it does work, but yeah, I mean, ending up in a career with a degree that you're never going to use or something you hate is a lot of waste of money, a lot of
Yeah.
waste of time too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think going back to school as an adult is you have a much bigger appreciation for it.
Yeah.
And getting good grades and learning about applying for scholarships and making sure you study and making sure that you know the material and you're not just memorizing it. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
What are some of the common mistakes that you see when someone joins a gym? Because, I remember you and we used to work out at a gym together early. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Oh,
And I
yeah.
remember like one of my biggest frustrations was good form was not being monitored or taught. And it was like, I just remember, and I'm pretty sure we had conversations about that. And then as you went to school and you became a coach, I knew you would like have a passion to make sure people are doing it right so they don't have injuries and so
Yeah.
that they're building muscles the correct way. But what are some other mistakes that people make when they join a gym?
I think probably just I would say going in with fear that they're not going to be good enough, fear that they're going to be the last one, fear that they won't be strong enough, or that I have to get in shape before I go into the gym.
Yeah.
And I think part of that too is, and when I speak about going to the gym, I'm primarily speaking about walking into a micro gym, into a gym where there's an instructor led class that you're going to attend. And I can't speak the same for going into like a Planet Fitness or like a Gold's Gym. I've had a few memberships at those type of gyms over the years, but what I'm really speaking about is going in where there's one head instructor and they're in charge of leading the class through a warm up, a workout, a lift, or an accessory, gathering everybody together, creating some camaraderie, creating that network and that community. So I think really the biggest thing is just go into that gym, see if that facility, that community is going to work for you. Because what I have learned over the years is no two gyms are the same. You're going to have different coaching expertises. You're going to have different communities. You're going to have different age groups within that community. You're going to have, even as far as like morning classes and afternoon classes, you might primarily see moms at like the 8:30, 9:30 times, whereas in the afternoon there's a more male-based class. It could be a little more competitive. Not to say that the moms don't get competitive as well, but it's just it's a different dynamic. So depending on where you end up and what you want out of it, I would say don't be afraid that you have to be fit to walk in. Don't be afraid that you're going to be the last or that you're not going to be able to finish. That comes with time, and there's a little bit of struggle that comes with that. But you earn that right to be like, man, a year ago I couldn't finish that workout. And this year I did finish that workout. Now there's somebody else who's new, who's come in, and I'm kind of taking them under my wing and helping them through this process of integrating back into the gym or walking into the gym for the first time. So it's really a unique experience, and when you find your community, you'll fit right in. You'll have friends for life. I have friends, my very first CrossFit friends from the first gym I was at. I still talk to them. I still hang out. I still see them at holidays. Their kids are getting older now and they're learning to drive and they'll be graduating. And so, those friends I hang on to for a long time because we bonded over the gym.
Struggle.
So yeah, I would definitely say try to push those fears aside and just get in the door. The hardest part is just getting in the door. And it is scary. It is scary taking that first class, but like I said, you'll find a community, and if the first gym doesn't work, then maybe the next one does.
Something I think about too when I first started working out, and at first I thought that Planet Fitnesses and those kind of gyms were like the beginners gyms. So, I always saw memes on Facebook and TikTok and stuff.
Yeah.
You're doing the equipment wrong,
Yep.
And I completely done that, where you're lifting with your neck or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like,
You laugh, but I recall you doing some of that stuff, Mariah, at Planet Fitness. Okay, I was there.
I know. So like I've done that, but I really think that when you go to a local gym, like when me and you, Mom, when we went to that gym together, when there's like an in-person instructor, like if you don't work out, you don't really know your body that well. Like I didn't know if I didn't even know what good form even looked like,
Right.
and I didn't know if I was doing that. So it's like I feel like those local gyms are actually a good beginner step
Yeah.
if you're working out, not
Yeah.
Planet Fitness, because then you have somebody who can actually like teach you what to do with your body. Like I don't know what to do with my arms. I need somebody to tell
Yeah.
me what to do with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
no, that's a fair statement, Mariah. I mean, that's one thing that micro gyms really hone in on is the
yeah,
coaching. And
yeah,
to my point previously, no two gyms are going to coach the same. The programming will be different. You may or may not like the programming. I've been
yeah,
to many gyms. The programming's completely different. The just the if it's undulating or however it's periodized. And sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's completely random, sometimes there's a method to the madness.
yeah,
So there is a beauty in the programming and what the classes are doing, how they're doing their strength. And then also to your point with new members, most of these micro gyms will offer a foundations type of class.
yeah. That's
So it may be 6 or 8 sessions or weeks, something like that, where it's kind of one-on-one with a coach, and you're working. Oh, sorry, that's the cat. Where you're working one-on-one with the coach, and learning all the movements, learning how to set your back, learning what a full depth squat looks like, learning how to keep your elbows tucked in on a push-up so that you protect your rotator cuff, learning all the movements and the acronyms that you're going to see up on the whiteboard so that you've at least seen it once and you're a little bit familiar with it. Even if you don't know exactly what it means, usually you can kind of sound them out from the abbreviations. But most of them will offer that, and also to that, if you want to try it out, they usually will have you come in and you can do like a baseline for free.
yeah,
So
that's
they'll
what I wanted to ask about. Yeah,
yeah, they'll bring you in. They'll bring you in and kind of do a baseline, or just kind of get you acquainted with a few of the movements, see how you do, see if you like it, sit down, talk to you, explain to you what they do, what they provide, what you're interested in, what your goals are. And that's the other thing, is everybody's goals are different.
yeah,
So have an idea of what you want to get out of it. If you want to lose weight, if you want to tone up, if you're seeking some nutrition advice, some of these gyms also offer nutrition counseling.
that's
So it really depends on what you're looking for. Like I said, no two are alike. So you could hit 3 in your town and they're all going to be different. And, you just got to find your fit, but you have to walk in the door to try.
yeah,
Yes.
like in person, like.
Yep. You have to walk in the door. Yep. Because otherwise you won't know.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
feel like too, like when you walk in, you kind of get the vibe, And I know, Mom, you used to go to a CrossFit gym, I think, where like highly competitive, like they were athletic people. And I know for me, like even though that was good for you, I don't think I would have walked in and probably felt like that was
Mm-hmm.
the right thing for me at that level,
Yeah.
But you can get a sense, like especially probably on the time of day too, like depending on what classes are
Yep.
offered. Like you might go in the morning, you'll see more moms your age, like
Yep.
doing cycling. And yeah, I never thought about gyms like that. I thought they were all kind of similar, but they
Yep.
all kind of have different
They
demographics.
do. They have different niches, and they might offer more than just a CrossFit class. They might have a
Yeah,
boot camp style HIIT class. They
yeah,
might have some cycles that you can hop on and do some sort of spin bike class. I mean, it depends also on what the background is of that coach. I mean, if they were a spin instructor somewhere and that place closed and they were like, here, have 20 bikes, and they've got the space to store them, then maybe that's how they got the start. Maybe that's how they opened the gym, is with spinning classes, and now they've just branched off. But again, to my point, you never know until you walk in the door.
Yeah.
Walk in the door, take that tour, meet the coaches, and see if it's a place where, you fit in and you can kind of mesh with those goals and that vision, that community.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I find interesting, because I did CrossFit for, I don't know, maybe about a decade. I've done functional fitness. I now have my own home CrossFit gym and I Peloton and I do a mix of other things. But I think the thing that's really kind of interesting is that a lot of times people, when they go to the gym, they go in and I think they're almost like too overly ambitious because they think, all right, I'm going to do this in 30 days. I'm going to be, my best self and everything's going to change. But, just knowing psychology, like new habits and new routines and change takes time. I mean, 90 days is a pretty good length of time for you to really be starting new habits and developing the new you. So when people walk into a gym and do a boot camp for 6 weeks and think, they're going to walk out and be like totally different. They're going to be different, but they're not going to be done. Like fitness is a journey and you got to stick with it. It's like you can't just do it for a few weeks and call it good, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, and you and I just kind of touched on this the other day when we were chatting about discipline and creating habits. So, I mean, you can find 5 different websites online that talk about how long it actually takes to create a habit. For everyone, it's different, but my belief, and this is my opinion, is if you don't have discipline, no amount of effort is going to actually create that habit. And that's the hard truth. Like if you lack discipline, if you can't put down the snacks, if you can't get off the couch, if you can't get out of bed on a rainy morning and get to the gym and you don't have that discipline, you're never going to reach your goals. And that's just the way it is. You have to have discipline. You have to want to get out of bed and know that, once I'm done with my hour, if I can just get to the gym, get my hour in, get through the warm up, I know I'm going to feel better. Yeah. But where people fall short is, oh, my bed is so cozy. Oh, it's raining out. Oh, it's cloudy. I mean, there's snow on the ground. The traffic's bad. I mean, there's a million excuses. Yep. And there's always something. Everyone always has something. I have those some things as well. I mean, there's days I don't want to go. But I know that because I've developed this habit, if I can get through the warm up, I'm going to feel so much better once it's done. And, that's not to say everyone's different. Some people are 3 days a week. Some people are 4 days a week. Some people need to move every day of the week. But I would say definitely start moving, create those habits, find your discipline, find your why. And really this kind of hones into, you have to fall in love with the process. You have to fall in love with the process of learning what it means to have that drive, to have that dedication. And there's an old quote that talks about having discipline is the biggest form of self-love. And really, that's something nobody can take away from you. That's something that you have to work towards. And something that, once you achieve having discipline, the goals, the outcomes, they're limitless because it overlaps into so many other aspects of your life. So I think the biggest takeaway to your question, Karen, is you got to have discipline. You have to be able to make the choice to go no matter what, and that's got to be your priority. Not, well, I'm not going to the gym tonight because I have to get my hair done. I'm not going to go to the gym tonight because I need to get an oil change. So those are just excuses. Like your gym time, and I try to tell this to my members as well, your gym time is non-negotiable. So if you get out of work and you come to the gym between the hours of 5 and 6 or 6 and 7 or whatever that class time is, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're at the gym from 6 to 7. No questions asked. You make that boundary. You set that definitive line so that everybody around you knows. Don't call, don't text. I'm busy. Don't ask to, go get my nails done. Don't ask to go do this. Like that is your gym time. So you have to set that. You have to create that. And in that, you become disciplined.
Absolutely.
So with that, it's easy, right? It's easy to be like, well, I don't want to go to the gym tonight. It's snowing and I'd rather get my hair done. Well, you can go get your hair done in the snow, but you can't come to the gym, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, that gym time has to be sectioned off just like an appointment. It has to be dedicated just like any other appointment, a doctor's appointment, a tire rotation, whatever you're having done, or whatever is the conflict in your schedule. So, yeah, I mean, without discipline, it's going to be really tough to reach those goals for sure.
For sure. I think it's important too for our listeners, because often I think the hardest part is, well, if you're just getting started, you might be like, well, I don't have that discipline. So now what? Right. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the tips that I would give, and I'm a leadership expert in the business world. And so I teach people and train people on time and task management and discipline, to be able to accomplish things at work. And I think the same principles apply to fitness and health. So you start small. So maybe your first step isn't going to the gym. Maybe your first step is that every day for 5 minutes, and I mean 5 stinking minutes, you're going to get up and you're going to do 10 squats, 5 push-ups on your knees, the best that you can. You're going to do some arm circles, and that's it. You're going to start with something, because I mean, to go from couch to CrossFit, it's hard, and it might not be possible, but you're going to have to set some small goal and incrementally build off of that until you can walk in that gym. Because the one thing you don't want to do, and I think a lot of people do this, I know I've done it in my life at times, when things happen, you walk in the gym, you pay the thing, you get started, and then you quit. And then you quit and you feel even worse than you did before you started, because now you failed. And so failure can be really hard to overcome. But I think if you start with those disciplines of small things done repetitively over and over again for weeks and weeks on end, and build off of that, I think you'll get your confidence where it needs to be too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even with setting those small goals, I mean, even if it's, I'm going to walk the dog Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we're going to go for a mile walk every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, that's a great goal. That's a good accomplishment. And then maybe from there, then it's all right, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and just building on that and letting it become something you enjoy. You have to enjoy it, because if you hate it, you're not going to want to do it. So that's the other thing to remember, is you have to be able to enjoy it. It's got to be enjoyable. And you have to have some sort of intrinsic reward for that. It feels good, man. It was nice to sweat a little, but I got my heart rate up. Man, that felt good. I burnt 100 calories or whatever off my smartwatch, or whatever you're using. So I think that's a really good way to look at it. And then also just having a buddy. If you can sign up with a friend, and commit to each other and say, all right, we're going to give ourselves 90 days. 90 days. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else. If it's not for you, go do something else. I mean, no one's keeping you there. If you find out you don't like going to a micro gym, that's fine. Go do spin. Just go do yoga. I mean, go back to Planet Fitness. It doesn't matter. But having a buddy to help keep you accountable can be super helpful, especially in those early stages. Like, to your point, when you're trying to create that discipline, you're trying to create those good habits, and then it becomes accountability. So Karen, for you and I, like, let's just say we decide to sign up for a gym membership, and you're like, all right, Jen, let's go. And I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. And you're like, all right, well, I'm going without you. And then you go, and then you tell me about your workout, how great it was, and how much fun it was, and how sore you are, and you feel you're getting stronger. Then that's like that'll bring something up in me, like, okay, well, I better get my butt to the gym. Like, I made this commitment. So having a buddy to be accountable with, right, to kind of egg you on and motivate you a little bit, can be super helpful as well. So yeah, I recommend that as well if you're finding it hard to find that discipline.
Yeah. I know for me, I struggle with discipline. So I know, like, when I lived in Michigan with you, like, you were my accountability partner, and if I had somebody to go with me, I would go, and I would have that accountability. And I think another thing I found as someone who struggles with discipline and I decide I want to make a big change or anything, I've learned to never do it on a Monday. Like, don't set the day to Monday. Set
Yeah.
it to like Thursday at like 2 p.m. or something. Like,
Yeah.
never do it on a Monday, like fresh in the morning,
Yeah.
You put all
Yep.
these big expectations on Monday, and then
Right.
Monday comes and you will find an excuse, and then
Yeah.
your goals are just like shattered and you haven't even started. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I do.
No,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense. Right. I mean, like to the point of like even just walking the dog, right? Just
Yeah.
being like, all right, this week for the next 8 days, I'm gonna make sure I walk the dog at least 4 of those days.
Yeah.
Or whatever that small goal is, and then maybe it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna take the dog for a jog. We're gonna go for a jog, or we're gonna jog and walk, or whatever. Maybe on Wednesday, halfway through the week, I'm gonna meet you and we're gonna go for a walk together, but we're gonna go for a little bit long. We're gonna go for an hour,
Right.
or just something small like that. Yeah, I think that can be very beneficial to take those small bites versus a big one, because it can be daunting. It can be overwhelming and intimidating walking into a gym and you see, a micro gym, you see all these people lifting weights and they're throwing weights on the floor and they're doing pull-ups and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, especially if you've never seen anything like that before. But I know for me and my personal experience, when I walked in the very first day, I was like, I want to do that. Like, that's what I want to do. Like,
Yeah.
how do I get there?
My good friends.
I want some of that.
Yeah, like I want to do that. Like, how do I get to that level? Like, I want to lift that weight. And so that's where falling in love with that process comes in, is, learning your body, learning how it moves, learning what you're capable of, and just falling in love with what your body is capable of and what it can do. We are remarkable machines, and we were designed so intelligently. And so it is, once you figure out the mechanics of the way you move and what you can do,
Yeah.
you just have a new appreciation for the human body and what we can do if we put our mind to it.
Yeah, I feel like there is some awkwardness at first. Like, you don't really know what to do with your body, but yeah, I see what you're saying. You do kind of learn what you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and everyone's going to look like a little baby deer the first few days.
Yeah.
That's the best part, is in those early stages, because you're going through so much remodeling and you're learning at such a fast pace. You have a lot of gains in those first months. The real struggle comes in years and years down the road, where you're lucky to get a 5-pound PR.
Yeah.
But those first few months, even into those first few years, depending on how hard and how often you're training and what your intensity is, those gains come quick. Those rewards come really quick. So it's nice, every time you walk in, you're like, oh, I got a PR again. I got a PR again. And there's some physiological responses that go on that I could geek out on right now, but for sake of time, it's fast. The turnover's fast. So seeing those numbers change is very rewarding.
Cool.
I think one of the challenges for people like myself, I mean, I've been working out for decades now. I mean, this has been part of my life. I think for me, keeping it fresh and trying new things, and even having to change some of the old things that I've done as my body ages and changes, that's been hard, because, when you're 20 and 30, I'm not saying you can't do the same things when you get older, but sometimes your body just doesn't move the same exact way. I mean, our bodies start to, change as we get older. And also even what we want our body to look like changes, I mean, when I was in my 30s, I had a certain physique that I would like to maintain. And getting older, I don't want to be skinny as a rail, and because I'm getting older, I want to have a little bit of meat on my bones so that, old and I fall down on some ice, I can get back up and do my Turkish get up, I just different goals and different life stages. When you go to a gym, what is some of the advice you give? Because you have people that are probably in their 20s all the way up to their 60s. And how do you customize your approach with those folks?
Yeah, I think it's important to ask them, first of all, what's your goal? So I think my oldest members are in their 70s. And, what I do when I do an assessment or a baseline with them is talk to them about, grip strength. There's a lot of good research about the correlation between longevity and a strong grip or having good grip strength. And that also correlates with cognitive decline and keeping the brain smart.
Yeah.
So one thing I always preach is, you want to be able to open up doors. You want to be able to carry groceries in or a gallon of milk or, pick up your grandkids. So having that grip strength, and like I said, with the relation to having high cognition and longevity, that's one thing I always preach with, especially with the older clients, is functional independence as we age. Because to your point, the last thing you want to do is slip on some ice out in the parking lot in between two cars, and you're laying there for 20 minutes until someone comes through and is like, "Oh, what happened?" And your phone went flying, and you're laying there. So yeah, I think about that even as I age. Because my goals are not the same as they were, 8, 10 years ago either. I just want to work out. I just want to work out, and I want to be healthy enough that, I can still lift when I'm in my 60s and 70s, and I can still pick up a barbell and, do the cool stuff. Not that I need to do 50 of them, but, it would be pretty cool if I could bust out, a set of 10 pull-ups or something like that. Go run a mile on a Saturday afternoon just because it's a beautiful day. That's the stuff I want to be able to enjoy as I age. So, I think, yeah, it comes down to that. And even in my gym with my 40 and 50-year-olds, they just want to work out. They want to work out. They want to, use it as a therapy session, some of them, and just lift some weights. Some of them are there just to move. Some of them are there to get through their day. Some of them are there because they do want to be stronger. Some of them just generally enjoy it. In the younger population, the goals kind of stem around, well, I want to get big or jacked, or I want to be able to bench 225, or whatever those goals are. Or if you're in another sport, if you play in a sports team. But I think those goals are so broad, and there's a big range of them. But I think ultimately for anybody, whether they're 20, 40, 50, 60, I think that end goal should be that functional independence and being able to enjoy life and not be stuck on a couch, not be stuck with a walker, not be stuck in a wheelchair. Be able to get up, be able to go outside, be able to garden, be able to pick up a wheelbarrow full of dirt and, haul it around the house, or do whatever you want to do. Play with your grandkids. I mean, just getting down on the floor and being able to get up off the floor after you're done playing with your kids or your grandkids, and not having your knees crack in 7 different ways, and not having to pull yourself up, being able to just hop up. Essentially that's a burpee. Whether you crawl up or hop up, that's a burpee. So having that upper body strength, having that upper body strength to be able to push your chest off the floor. So what was that, Mariah?
Burpees are important.
Yes, they are important. Yes. So, yeah, I think like I said, the goals vary and there's a wide range, but, I think as we age, we kind of all end up in the same place as far as what goals are, because who wants to be 70 years old and using a walker? I mean, has anybody said, yeah, when I'm 70, I can't wait to use a walker. I can't wait to be in a wheelchair, park in the handicap spot, like that's not anybody's goal. So yeah,
I think we talked about we're going to be line dancing in the villages at 70, right? Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Teaching line dancing, and maybe you'll be a pickleball captain. Big goals. Yeah. So I think ultimately it comes down to that, and being able to enjoy that life after we're done working and we retire, and we're able to enjoy life a little bit. So yeah.
That's a good point. I think too, one thing that I just thought of is people with like autoimmune disorders and things like that. I know a lot of people who have had them, like my husband and some of his friends who have them. Like when they work out too, it actually heals their issues. Like it heals their
Yeah.
autoimmune disorders. So I think people who are like sick or dealing with that, I notice a lot more people are kind of sick with those type of issues right now. Um, they
I
think
have
it's
some
like
ideas why, but we won't talk about
yeah,
that here. It'll get us banned.
that's our other, yeah. No, but I mean, yeah, it's like working out too can even heal the illnesses that maybe people use as an excuse not to work out, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. And so there are some special populations. I have worked with people with arthritis,
Yeah.
osteoporosis. The arthritis one is very interesting because there is a lot of research about arthritis and staying moving.
Yeah.
And yes, it can be very painful.
Right.
But I'm not, I think it comes down to intensity, right? Like I'm not, if you've got arthritis, I'm not asking you to go run a 5K.
Right.
Like, but we still need to move those joints through their range of motion because when you stop using them, they seize up, you lose it. Yeah. So they're, within a controlled environment, obviously we're not going nuts, but you can still practice squats to a certain depth and degree. That's a functional movement that you need to be able to get up out of a chair, hop down out of your car. So just practicing those movements, and maybe it doesn't come down to a whole workout, but just practicing those movements and being functional with them to a degree where you're confident doing them is super important. Because yeah, you don't want those joints getting so tight and so tender and so swollen and inflamed that it's completely miserable, and then you're on a bunch of medication,
Yeah.
and it escalates so fast. And I'm not, I'm not a MD, I'm not a nutritionist by any means, but going back to that with autoimmune diseases, there's a lot of good research out there for incorporating nutrition into working out and helping to heal the body. So I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we don't get that information from our primary care doctors, and so
No.
unfortunately that research falls on the consumer. It falls on you, it falls on me to go to our doctor and really advocate for ourselves. Be like, listen, like this is the symptoms, and they unfortunately a lot of times just want to push a medicine.
Yeah.
And really you can heal your body through good food and exercise. That's what we were designed for.
Yeah.
We were designed to move and eat well, and so when our diet does not reflect, it doesn't reflect what we were designed to digest and process and fuel ourselves off of, then it makes it very difficult with inflammation and a lot of chronic diseases and disorders. So, that's a really good point, Mariah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And we live in a world that's filled with toxins, so our bodies are constantly bombarded with, in things that are inflaming us. I mean, we don't even understand it. You could be eating healthy, but I mean, the air you breathe, the water you drink, I mean, there's just so many things. But with that, that though, one of the things that I think, I don't know who said this to me at some point in my life, but no amount of exercise and fitness is ever going to fix bad eating habits. And I want to say that again, because some of our listeners out there might think, hey, I joined a gym, I get fit and everything will be great. Yeah, getting fit is good and that's great for you. But if you're still eating garbage and you are not taking care of the nutrition side, you might look physically fit, but you are not well. And I just like to point that out. So do you agree with that? And, for the listeners out there, do you have any advice for them on how to find that balance between, working out and then also not forgetting that what you put on your fork is just as important?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you eat like crap, you're going to feel like crap. I mean, that's just the way it is. And you can't outwork a bad diet. So no matter how many times you go into the gym, if you come home and you slam a pizza and a beer every night, you're not going to see any results. I mean, you're going to have a lot of carbs, but it's not going to be productive if you want a lean physique. And dialing in your nutrition, I've done it once in my life. I've dialed in my nutrition so deeply that I leaned out, and yeah, I looked great. I felt great, but with that, my compromise was strength, and I lost strength through that. So as females, I can speak on female population. For men, it's a little bit different because of our hormones, of their hormones, and their metabolic rate. But as females, it's really hard to balance those hormones, lean out without losing muscle, and maintain a body fat so that we have reproductive health. So you'll find that a lot of women that are super, super lean, many times, I'm not saying all, but many times have hormone fluctuations and have a hard time getting pregnant or keeping a regular menstrual cycle. Yeah. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Yeah, you look great. You've got six-pack abs, but sometimes our bodies reject that. Our bodies just need more fat.
I've heard too, women who are really lean and really fit in that way, and really lean out hard. I also have read that they also have really hard pregnancies too. Just an interesting.
I don't know about that, but it's completely possible. And like I said, it could be very independent, individual to individual. But I think as broad data, as a broad statement, then that is one thing that that women struggle with. So, like I said, I would rather be a little bit heavier and be able to deadlift and bench press and lift heavy weights and feel good about that versus being so light that I can't lift heavy weight. Mass moves mass. There's no question to that. That's physics. So yeah, that's my goal, is to be able to lift heavy weight, and I don't want to run a marathon. I don't ever want to run a marathon. And,
no, thank you.
In order to do that, I need to be light and fast. If you look at the body type between Olympic weightlifters to CrossFitters to marathon runners, the body types are all very, very different.
Yeah.
And there's reason for that, dependent on, it's specificity to the training that they do. So yeah, I think that's a valid point for sure. And you got to dial in that nutrition if you really want to see results. But to my point, you need to seek a nutritionist.
Yeah,
absolutely. Seek a nutritionist, somebody who is educated in that and is certified in that.
Awesome. Well, Jen, as we bring today's episode to a close, I want to make sure our listeners have a way to connect with you, learn about your gym, learn about your fitness coaching that you do, the personal training that you do. So how can they reach out to you? How can they find you? How can they learn more?
So I do have a Facebook page. The story of the gym I opened just before COVID and the whole state got shut down. So I don't have a website, but I do have a Facebook page. It's Resilient Strength Training. You can find me on Facebook, and I've got all my information on there. We're located in Whitmore Lake, Michigan, right off 23, so it's super easy access. And yeah, it's been COVID was really a blessing in disguise as far as opening the gym and providing a place for people to work out amongst everything that was going on, and create some normalcy and in a time of chaos. So yeah, it's Resilient Strength Training, and my phone number and email and address is all on there. So feel free to shoot me a message.
Awesome. We'll put all of that information in the show links so that you guys can click on that and go check it out. I'm of course biased because you're like my best friend, but you are an amazing coach because you truly care about your clients, and you're just dedicated to really helping them achieve their goals. And I think that sometimes you don't get that at every gym. And so I think it's important that people, like you said, check out different gyms, find the one that's right for you. But I know if people reach out to you and check out your gym, they're going to love it because you're just a compassionate coach that really, truly cares. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fun.
Actually.
What's that, Mariah?
I learned a lot. just from
Good.
this.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, this is really good. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, ladies.
Yeah, well, thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Blonde Informants, hosted by Narrow Path Wellness. We are so grateful that y'all tuned in. We'll have Jen back again later. We'll talk about some fun things like, oh, I don't know, we'll talk conspiracy theories someday, Jen, because we love doing that once in a while, too. We'll talk about some cool fad that's going on out in the world. Yeah, it'll be fun. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, everybody, take care. God bless. We'll see you.